Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. This would be sensational if he makes it. And do you know what? He has made it. Smiles will be out at 18 years and 227 days old. Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. Hamilton has more wins than any other driver in Formula One history. And he is not done yet.
Welcome to Getting a Grip F1, powered by the Inner Sanctum. I'm your host, Joshua Wells, as always, joined by Jessica Fisher and Brandon Moritz. Welcome back to the show. We have another exciting news list for everyone today, including Brandon, some breaking news this morning for another one of our F1 drivers.
Yeah, so Charles Leclerc has announced today that he's tested positive after being a close contact for coronavirus, and he's isolating at home. So I think that makes a total of 25% of the grid has now gotten coronavirus in the last 6 months.
They're dropping like
hopefully
flies.
Yeah, that's it. But hopefully he recovers well, because we know what this disease can do to even the healthiest people.
So is there any indication of how he's got it? Where is he? Is he at home? Is he in another country? Is he doing the wrong thing?
From his announcement, he said that he's at home and he's only got mild symptoms. But yeah, it's so hard to tell. It's like when Lewis Hamilton had it, there was almost no information because he's focusing on getting better. So I guess we'll know more in the coming days. But if he's already got the mild symptoms, then he probably would have known for a couple of days that he's at least got a high chance of having it, especially if he was told he was a close contact.
I guess, Jess, we're very lucky that this didn't happen this season. I mean, with the amount of COVID cases we're suddenly having with drivers, we could have very well lost the 2020 season or the races. So I guess in some ways it's good that they obviously followed protocols during the season.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose if they, obviously not saying that we want them to catch corona, but if it did happen within the season, then you'd have more substitute drivers and see other drivers in there. But no, I mean, obviously we don't want any of them to catch it at all, but yeah, it would have completely changed the season in the standings, I think. So it's kind of good for them that it's been in the off season, I guess you could say.
I guess it's a testament too to the the dedication of the drivers during the season, but also F1's ability to control the virus as much as they can.
Well, I reckon it's like a fire safety blanket. I've heard a few, like I think Ross Brawn was talking about how they controlled it during the season, and anytime there was a little outbreak, they just smothered it and got rid of it. And I love that because, we saw Hamilton and Sergio and Lance, so they all got it. They're directly working with mechanical engineers and teams and everyone, and just everyone. And it's amazing that they were only able to give it to a few people, if anyone, in those instances, and keep the racing alive. So they're just throwing the blankets on the fires, which is great. So testament, obviously, to their guidelines. Let's hope it remains in 2021. Obviously, we're not quite out of the woods yet. And Charles Leclerc joins Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Lance Stroll as our confirmed COVID-19 drivers. So they're all in a league of their own now, almost. Right, we'll move right on to the next, more positive topic. Autosport released a article this week, basically saying there's an expectation of a massive influx over the next 10 years of women's racers and drivers and engineers. I guess with things like the W Series, Jess, what do you think the future is like for women in motorsport, particularly around F1?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be definitely a bright future for women in motorsport. Like, it's true to say that women are underrepresented in motorsport, but obviously it's fair to say that motorsport appeals to mostly men, so naturally more men will take part. I mean, I would love to see more women race, but not only, I think they should get there on merit, not because of their gender. And I think Caitlin mentioned when we spoke to her a few weeks ago that W Series is there. That's one of the reasons why they're there. It's there to provide a showcase of talent, more than any other series, because it's obviously fully financed, the equal machines, and so the women that are there, they're there on merit. And I think that that's a really good platform to show like how good they are, and I do think that it's going to get more people into the sport. Like it's not just Formula One; it's going to be IndyCar and Le Mans and like all of the aspects of motorsport. I think so. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to do like amazing things for the sport.
And like you're saying, these people are obviously going to get there with their merit. So it can only be a good thing having more people there. There's going to be more competition. You're going to have better races. So I think it'll be really exciting, like Autosport has said, over the next 10 years to see all of these new names coming through. I think it'll spice things up a little bit.
And I think what really, I don't know, what annoys me, I guess, in this discussion is there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, but there's not many young female drivers at karting events and this and that and this and that. But I just think that having a W Series and having representation up the top, as Jess said, is so crucial to making sure that young women and young fans and girls know that they can do it. So if there's, Caitlin Wood from Australia, she's over there in the W Series in 2019. Let's hope that sparked a few people to jump into karting, because that's what it's about. It's obviously male dominated at the moment, but it doesn't mean it can't change. Like in Australia, we've seen massive impacts with AFLW and NRLW with young women and girls jumping into the sport they love because they know they can now. And I think we need to remember how crucial that aspect of it is. It is a show of talent and W Series, and they're all there on merit. But at the same time, we do definitely need to encourage young girls to jump in, because the only way you get better is with experienced driving and given the opportunities. So I'm really proud of F1 and FIA and everyone involved in setting up this sort of initiative like the W Series, of getting it started and going and financed and on the YouTube channels and on TV in some areas, because how important that is. So really happy to see that there is a keenness for an influx of drivers over the next 10 years, according to the Autosport report, and some drivers starting to feel like that. So it's great for everyone. I think more competition equals better racing. All right, we'll move right on to McLaren. Will be exploring an option to join Formula E in 2022. They've secured the option to participate once the third generation cars have made their debut. The option just basically enables them to enter the championship as one of the 12 teams from the 2022-23 season. But what do you guys think of this move by McLaren?
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see, and hopefully it brings even more money and eyes to Formula E, because realistically, Formula E is ultimately a testing ground almost for technology that could possibly be implemented in the future. So having a bigger team like McLaren moving across, it'll be interesting. I don't think there was rumors that they'll do this. They might move to this full time, but I doubt very much that they would ever do that. McLaren's synonymous with F1, but regardless, I think it'll be exciting.
Wait, so some people believe that McLaren Racing will exit the F1 and remain only in Formula E?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it'll ever happen.
I don't think that'll happen unless Formula One becomes electric.
And then it'll just be Formula One. And
then it would just be F1. I don't know. You need to listen to Zach Brown talk about the F1, and I promise you they probably won't make that move. Jess, what do you think?
No.
I mean, no, I don't think they're going to leave F1 anytime soon. But
that's annoyed me. That is a silly comment. I think.
I know.
McLaren is like F1's team.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jess. Sorry.
It's like Ferrari, McLaren.
I think it's going to be a really good move for McLaren. Initially, I was a bit worried because they may lose their focus on F1, not leave altogether. But you've seen what they've done in IndyCar, and I think they've done really well there. And I think that's shown that it's not had like an effect on Formula One, like with their third place finish still. So I can only really see positives from them moving to Formula E. They're joining a series where development costs are a fraction of F1. The coverage and interest in the series is still gaining momentum, and with existing manufacturers like going towards more electric racing, so you've got like BMW, Porsche, Mercedes in there as well. So to have all those names in there, it's obviously going to bring more like attraction to Formula E. So I think that's good for their branding as well, because everyone's interested in Formula E. And a win in a series like that could be really good for them and show like they're worth it, and they're sports cars as well. I think that could boost their market there. So yeah, I only think it's going to provide like extra opportunities for them, and I think it will be a really good move.
They're clearly becoming a super team in some ways. They want to. It's almost like McLaren want to be represented across the world in so many different events now, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. They're obviously popped up in IndyCar. They're in F1. They're going to, or potentially going to FE. I'd love to see them continue that and just build this base of cars, race cars. Like obviously they're trying to shill like their bikes and their cars and things like that through the brand. So you never know. They might be planning a release of a fleet of road cars that are electric McLaren branded to compete with Tesla. You never know what they're up to. And I love that aspect. And as Brandon alluded to, do we think this is a way of getting ahead of the competition for the next long-term goal of potentially moving F1 away from unsustainable techniques?
I can't see it happening. I don't think F1 will be electric one day. I don't think it could work. I don't know. F1 is just built around that. You know what I mean? Like, it's already come so far from how it used to be. It would be cool to see it happen, but I definitely can't see it could turn in electric in the future. But also, I think this move to Formula E could be like indicating that they're going down the electric route as in their sports car wise, but I can't see it for F1 now.
Yeah, I think it'll always be hybrid in one sense or another, but the battery operated, the electric part of the F1 car will just get more and more efficient. You see that across the integrated technologies in F1 just generally. So yeah, I don't think it would be 100% electric though.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see what kind of developments they can come out with in something like FE, and if that translates into F1 and improving those cars. I think at the end of the day, the goal probably is still to win those F1 World Championships. And, you know, between IndyCar and FE, you never know. They're probably focused all their efforts on upgrading that orange in the F1. This one came a bit out of the blue for most fans. Alpine race team, formerly known as Renault F1, have departed with Cyril. Cyril is no longer part of the company. He was expected to be the CEO of the rebranded team, but he's gone. Why? Why have they done this? Is it so they can get Red Bull back on board as a customer? You know, is it because he hasn't met any of the goals that they expected? They ended up earning 3 podiums under his tenure. That's not bad for the car they had. So what's the decision here? Why have they made it?
I think they're just trying to rebrand totally, obviously with their move to Alpine, sorry. And their podiums this year, even though they were really good and it's really impressive, it's a season where McLaren outperformed them, Racing Point outperformed them, and Ferrari realistically wasn't in the mix. So I think it will definitely help Red Bull with their search for an engine, but yeah, I think they were just looking to switch things up a little bit because Cyril's been great, but obviously the team hasn't been performing for the last few years. So yeah, it was an interesting move, but I guess if you look into it, it wasn't 100% surprising considering the changes that they're going through.
Yeah, I feel quite bad for him. I feel like he's leaving just as they were about to like get really good and like revive the team. I wonder if Fernando had anything to say with it. This is obviously just a rumor, probably not. It's probably just a bit of a whim from me. But as he reportedly had a say with McLaren and with Eric Boulier and Ron Dennis being replaced by Gilles de Ferran and Zach Brown. So it could be something like that, but that's just a bit out of the blue for me, to be honest.
They're all involved in getting Fernando Alonso back to the Alpine team. Wasn't he a crucial part of those discussions?
Probably. I can't remember.
I believe he was, and I thought my understanding was that Cyril really campaigned to get him back, so I would find that hard to believe. Yeah,
I think Cyril's done really well for the team, and he's definitely like a Renault man through and through. And I think he's done really well for himself because that wasn't like his initial role. I think he was in like a different department, but to be able to like come in and do so well, and he has managed to get the team back to where they were at some level, because before like he came in, they were, I don't know, they were going down, but I feel like feel like as soon as he's leaving, they're getting back up. So I do definitely feel very sorry for him.
Maybe Red Bull snatched him.
Oy, he's going to work alongside Christian Horner, do we reckon, on the pit wall?
No, maybe he's going to replace Christian.
Maybe he's going to head up the very positive F1 Red Bull Academy team. Laurent Rossi will take over the Alpine CEO role going into 2021. And no one really knows what Cyril is doing at this stage, but we hope he's walking straight into a tattoo parlor and living up to the hype that him and Daniel Ricciardo had with, obviously, if Ricciardo scored a podium, Cyril was getting a tattoo. Do we think he's going to get the tattoo? Is this his way of getting out of getting a tattoo?
Do you think he quit?
Did he just walk out and say, nah, I don't want a tattoo of Daniel Ricciardo on me. I'm out of here.
I think I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not sure he'll get it, but we'll see.
Did he get sacked because he's not getting the tattoo?
If someone mentions this tattoo one more time, I'm going to cry.
You can't make a public statement like that, Jess, and get all the interest.
It's cultural now for us.
I want to see the Opera House on him or something. All right, Jess? Right. And speaking of electric racing, Extreme E has signed a deal with Sky Sports in the UK to be broadcast around, well, we're hoping the world and hoping that comes to Fox Sports in Australia. Now, for those of you who don't know, Extreme E is a new concept of racing that is trying to combat climate change. So it's going to places only affected by climate change, so glaciers, deserts, etc. It's going to be quite an interesting competition this year. There's a few dates, and they're actually taking their cars and their teams around on a ship to try and reduce jet fuel usage during the Extreme E tournament. So Australia's Molly Taylor will join the Rosberg Extreme Racing team as they go ahead against Lewis Hamilton's Extreme Racing team. But let's talk about that a little bit. So obviously we've got Formula E, but this is a huge step for a competition that hasn't been run yet. What are you guys hoping for out of Extreme E in 2021?
I think it would just the concept itself, I think, could do a lot for motorsport. Obviously, it's bringing attention to the fact that every single race weekend, you're flying every single team member, you're getting the cars there. So everything to do with F1 currently uses so much fossil fuel and contributes. So just the fact that Extreme E is bringing attention to that, I think will do wonders. I don't know what will carry across between them, but regardless, it can only be good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. It's very different to what we've seen before. Like, obviously, it's completely different to Formula E as well. So it's not just going to be the same as that. And I really like rallying, so I'm excited to see how different it is to normal rallying. But no, I think it could be a really cool concept, and I think it will definitely draw more people in, especially with it being on Sky, because obviously they've got the Formula One rights as well, so people might want to check it out when it's being advertised. So yeah, I'm really excited for it.
I reckon it looks so cool. Obviously, there's areas around the world that they've found that have been damaged by climate change, and they want to put a race on it to just show the world what it actually genuinely looks like. And as Jess said, it's a rally event. I probably should have mentioned that. But yeah, rallying around the world. And the why I've brought it up is because it attracted people like Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton to actually put in teams, and Formula One is obviously following it closely. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting ride as opposed to, just being a different rallying competition. So I'm really excited for it. And obviously, as Brandon said, the fossil fuels that go into just everything in everyday life. You think about it, even the journalists and the podcasters and everyone out there who are putting so much effort into F1, and it just burns so much. I think that's all we have time for. We will be joined by Marta Garcia on the podcast on Wednesday on our interview slot. She's from the W Series, and we had a really good chat with her, so watch out for that episode. But thank you for joining us. And of course, on Monday, Brandon, you will be leading the F2, F3 Getting a Grip episode. And Brandon will be joined by Jackie and Ellie for the Getting a Grip F2, F3 on Monday, Australian time. So check that out. And wherever you're listening to this, it's going to appear on Monday. And then, of course, our interview on Wednesday will also appear wherever you're listening to this. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.
Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. This would be sensational if he makes it. And you know what? He has made it. smiles will be out. At 18 years and 227 days old, Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. Hamilton has more wins than any other driver in Formula One history. And he is not done yet.